She fed America. But America ignored her. Millions worked the fields. One woman gave them a voice. This is not history. This is resistance. She was told to stay silent. She changed the law. In a world that celebrated abundance, millions of hands harvested food they would never afford. In a land that promised equality, entire families worked under the sun without protection, without rights, without a voice. This is not a story of comfort. This is a story of courage. This is not a story of power. This is a story of resistance. This is the story of Dolores Huerta. She was born in a small town where people moved with the seasons, where families packed their lives into trucks, where home was never permanent, where survival depended on the strength of your back. Her parents were farm workers, migrant laborers who followed crops across states, working long days for little pay, living in conditions no human being should accept. From a very young age, Dolores saw injustice, not in books, but in real life. She saw her father leave early every morning and return exhausted. She saw her mother struggle to keep food on the table. She saw neighbors disappear when work dried up. She learned early that poverty was not a choice. It was a system. When her parents separated, Dolores and her mother moved to California. There her mother ran a small hotel, but it was more than a business. It became a refuge, a place where struggling workers could stay when they had nowhere else to go. Dolores watched her mother forgive rent, offer meals, listen to stories of pain. And Dolores learned something powerful. That leadership begins with empathy. She went to school. She studied. She became a teacher, standing in classrooms filled with children who wanted to learn. But many came hungry. Many came tired. Many came carrying the weight of their parents' suffering. Dolores realized something that would change her life forever. Teaching children was important, but fighting the system, hurting their families, was essential. She left the classroom, not because she stopped caring, but because she cared too much. She stepped into the world of community organizing, walking door to door, listening instead of speaking, learning instead of leading. She met farm workers who worked 12 hours a day, who handled toxic pesticides with bare hands, who had no clean water, no bathrooms, no medical care. If they spoke up, they were fired. If they organized, they were threatened. If they resisted, they were replaced. These workers fed America, yet America ignored them. Then she met Cesar Chavez, a man who shared her fire, her pain, her vision. Together they dreamed of something impossible, a union for farm workers, not backed by wealth, not supported by power, but built on solidarity. They founded the United Farm Workers. At first it was small, meetings in homes, discussions whispered in fear. But Dolores was fearless. She spoke with clarity, with truth, with a voice that carried generations of suffering. She organized strikes. She negotiated contracts. She mobilized communities. She became the backbone of the movement, often working longer hours than anyone else, often receiving less recognition. The grape strike changed everything. Farm workers walked away from fields. Growers responded with intimidation, violence, arrests. Dolores was jailed many times, dragged away for speaking, for standing, for refusing silence. She was also a mother, raising 11 children, often away from home, often choosing between activism and family, a sacrifice few acknowledge, a burden few understand. As the boycott spread across the nation, consumers stopped buying grapes. Students marched. Churches supported. America began to listen. And from this movement rose a phrase. Simple, powerful, unstoppable. Sí se puede. Yes, it can be done. Those words were not a slogan. They were a promise. To the worker, to the mother, to the child, to the future. But the fight was never easy. In one peaceful protest, Dolores was brutally beaten by police. Her ribs shattered, her organs damaged. She nearly died. When she recovered, she did not retreat. She returned stronger, more determined, more vocal. She pushed legislation, changed labor laws, fought for unemployment benefits, healthcare protections, workers' compensation, rights that had been denied for generations. She sat across from politicians, negotiated with power, never backed down, never softened the truth. She proved that leadership does not require permission, that change does not come from comfort, that courage is choosing to fight even when you are afraid. Dolores Huerta transformed the labor movement. She transformed civil rights. She transformed what it meant to be a woman in leadership. Yet she never claimed the spotlight. She never chased fame. She focused on impact. Even today, her voice remains strong, her presence unwavering, her message clear. Justice is not given. It is demanded. This is not just the story of one woman. This is the story of millions who found a voice through her. This is the story of hands that harvested dignity along with crops. This is the story of resistance rooted in love. And, if you listen closely, you can still hear her words echoing across generations.
Sí se puede.